Now, Harris has certainly enjoyed a bump in the polls and a surge in fundraising since taking over as the party's nominee. We want to bring in President and Executive Director of the Daily Signal, Robert Bluey, to further this conversation this morning. Robert, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, so your initial reaction to these new poll numbers. I mean, Trump previously won Florida in 2020 by 3.3 points over Biden. There's still a 5-point difference here. And granted, these are early polls, right? So why is Harris gaining so much ground in a state that for the most part is a traditionally red state?
Well, Kamala Harris has enjoyed a considerable amount of favorable media attention since she replaced Joe Biden at the top of the ticket. So I think that voters probably are focusing a lot on her personality, her choice of a running mate, and not necessarily on the policy issues that had previously defined this race between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And remember, the number one issue that voters cited, poll after poll, was the economy and inflation. And Kamala Harris has done, frankly, a good job of distancing herself from Joe Biden on that issue. And so she doesn't carry the baggage that Biden did with voters. And I think that's probably why in some states like Florida, you're seeing a little bit of a bounce.
And Robert, Harris's vice presidential running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, hit the campaign trail. He did so by himself yesterday, and he was speaking to union members in downtown L.A. Walz is spending some time right now responding to GOP attacks on his military service in the Army National Guard. He's claiming that he misrepresented his military record. Let's take a listen.
I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country. And I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record.
So we are early in the Harris-Walz campaign. How important of a talking point will this issue be going forward, especially once we find out their specific policy agenda?
Well, I do think this is going to be a big issue and a problem for Tim Walz for the number one reason that we've seen from history. In 2004, John Kerry was dogged repeatedly by accusations that about his military record in Vietnam. And so you have a contrast between J.D. Vance, who served in the Marines, served overseas in Iraq, and Tim Walz, who's now facing questions about some of the statements that he's made in his past about his own military service. And so in this early stage, when you are trying to define your opponent, there's an opportunity for the Trump and Vance campaign to paint Tim Walz into a corner where he is going to have a hard time perhaps getting out. Remember, the reason Kamala Harris picked Tim Walz is because she liked somebody on the ticket who had this military experience, something that she lacks. And if he's not able to bring those advantages to the table, I think that that's a detriment to their campaign.
And Robert, many people are still talking about the conversation between billionaire Elon Musk and former President Donald Trump. Musk has extended an invite to Vice President Harris to appear in an interview with him, similar to the conversation that he had with Trump just 2 days ago. Do you think she's going to take him up on his offer?
I think it's probably doubtful for the very reason that Elon Musk has already endorsed Donald Trump, and she knows that she would probably be going into unfriendly territory should she accept that invitation. However, I will say this, I think more conversations that we have, whether it's on Merit Street or other networks, is favorable and positive for voters. This is one of the reasons why I think it would be best for the American people to have 3 debates and really see these candidates talk about the policy issues and outline their agenda for how they would make America better in the future. So I hope she does accept the invitation, although I think it's unlikely.
Well, yes, and clearly voters are eager to hear from their candidates as well. Speaking of Musk's interview with Donald Trump, I want to circle back on something. The United Auto Workers Union filed federal labor charges against the 2 billionaires on Tuesday. During their interview, Trump praised the Tesla CEO for his ability to trim waste. Let's listen to that conversation.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good.
Okay, so that comment was in connection with what Musk did at Twitter, now X. The controversy is about the comments of firing workers who go on strike. And as you know, the right to strike is protected by federal law. The UAW took these comments as threats, but we have to also acknowledge that many UAW workers have been showing support for Trump. So is this a political ploy to swing the UAW vote, or is there really a case here?
Oh, I think the union vote is definitely up for grabs, and that's probably why the union officials are nervous about the direction that some of its members are going. Remember, this is one of the reasons that Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance because he comes from Ohio. He comes from a working class background. He has strong appeal, and his policies that he's put forward as a U.S. senator really show favoritism to some of those union workers. Traditionally, those union workers have been lock solid in this camp of the Democrats, maybe with the exception of Ronald Reagan's era as president. But those Reagan Democrats have, shifted in years to Bill Clinton and Barack Obama and Joe Biden. So if Donald Trump can win them back, that would be a huge factor in some of those states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and perhaps some other Rust Belt places where Donald Trump has been needing that help.
Yeah, well, interesting conversation. Robert Bluey, always good to have you on Morning on Merit. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Fanchon, over to you.